I wrote this little song about Eddie Helisum and also this friend of mine who lived on the Isle of Wight, and he told us this story about how he was 21, he'd just gotten saved, he left England, and he went over to the United States and ended up getting saved in the United States, actually, after he left his mom in England. And then he went to Hawaii, and long story short, he ends up with this old grumpy sailor who says, if you want to sail across the sea, I'll take you. So he ends up going on this boat across the sea. Anyway, long story short, he ends up in storms somewhere in between, like Hawaii and New Zealand. I don't know where it was, but it was bad. Anyway, and they get tossed by like 70 to 80 foot waters. And it was so bad that the old man, the screaming, he said, as he's telling us, this is like 30 some years ago, but he's telling us this and he's weeping uncontrollably at the table while he's telling us this. And he says, it's such a memory to me of what it feels like to be so out of control. And he said, as we're being just tossed in the sea, the screaming of the wind was so bad that you just wanted it to go away. And he said, I remember I went into the middle of the section of the belly of the boat or whatever, and I'm down in there, and I'm just covering up my ears, and I had this little pocket Bible, and I pulled it out, and I had it, and I was just looking at the Bible, and I prayed this prayer, Lord, if I get off this boat, I'll live for you forever. And while I said that, I fell asleep, he said. And I woke up to this old man chaining my arms and my legs. I woke up and he's tying up my arms and my legs. Well, tying my legs and then tying things to my arms like tools. But it felt like he was tying me up, and you hear all about these crazy stories of these people out on the sea, he said. So I woke up kind of startled, and he said, boy, you're going to have to go below the boat, and you're going to have to take the rudder off this ship, or we're going to die. And he knows there's 70-foot swells out there. I'm going to die just jumping in the water. And he said, I remember jumping into the water and the peace of being in the water. It was so amazing. He said, I never wanted to come out of the water. I went down into the water and went up, and the rudder was actually almost off. All I had to do was loosen one more bolt, and the rudder just fell off the boat. And I tugged on the rope, and I came back up. I got on the boat, and the old man said, well, that was fast. I said, I know, it was only just one bolt. Got the rudder off, and then the storms, we made it through the storms, and then it was peaceful. We had food for a while, but we went 40 days out on the water, and then we realized this is it. This is how we're going to die. And so he said, you probably don't ever feel this way, but when you know you're going to die, the one thing that came to my mind was, I never told my mom that I was going on the boat. So he said, I had this overwhelming sense that my mom's going to just think I went off to the United States and never came back. And he said, it just burdened me so much that I said, I have to get in contact with her somehow if I'm just going to die out here. And so I wrote a letter to her, and it said, Dear Finder. And then I wrote this whole letter addressed to the Finder. And I put it in a bottle, and I wrote to my mom all that had happened on the boat. And I put it in this bottle and corked it and threw it out in the ocean. And crazy stuff happened. flying fish jumped on the boat, and they were able to cook them up and eat them, and crazy. I mean, I wish he was here to tell the story. I got to get a video of it and just have it played, the whole story. Anyway, and he gets back home and he just goes back to living like usual. And then, like 5 years later, somebody found that note. And so while he's telling us his story, he looks up and there's this tattered old note that's framed on the wall. He brings it down to me and he hands it to me while he's telling us the story. And it's like, this note saved my life, he said. Because when his mom sent him that note 5 years later, he was reminded of that commitment that he made to the Lord. And he's never stopped following Jesus since. So it's like one of the reasons that we write every day down isn't just for, like Eddie, so that people will know one day in the future that God lived even in these times. One of the reasons also that we write it down is that maybe we'll need to be reminded in the future that God lived even in these times. So I started this song with this man's young boy. His name is Joshua. We're in his kitchen. This is how you write songs. We're in the kitchen, and this lady comes in because she brought food for all of us in the band, and we're staying at their bed and breakfast there that they own now in the Isle of Wight there, and son Josh was just hanging out with me, and I had this song in my heart. Write every day down. Write every day down. Write every day down. Write every day down. And so this lady comes walking into the kitchen. Joshua's sitting next to me, and she's got these bright shoes on. And I looked over and I said, man, those are fancy shoes. And Joshua looks at his shoes and he says, I've just got boring old black shoes. And I looked down at his shoes and I said, Joshua, that's a great first verse to our song. He said, what song? This song I've been writing. It's going to say, I've got boring old black shoes. And then I looked over and there was this bowl of oranges. And I said, an orange in my pocket. And I walked the same road every day. And then it was history. We just wrote this song.